Hello and welcome back to the Football Rundown. We're back here with another match preview today. Stockport County look to take on Burton Albion back home at Edgeley Park. Of course, returning to Edgeley Park for this weekend, looking also to return back to winning ways after last weekend's 1-0 defeat at the racecourse ground to Wrexham. They'll take on a Burton side that sits 21st in the table, but has picked up 3 wins in their last 6. The Hatters also beat Burton 3-0 in the previous fixture, meaning a win this Saturday could make Burton the 5th team for County to have done the double over this season after already beating Blackpool, Shrewsbury, Reading and Bolton on both occasions so far. County of course sit 5th in the table, 5 points from 7th and 9 points from 2nd. Last weekend's defeat to Wrexham has put 2nd almost unreachable. Now with County likely having to look over our shoulder with many clubs behind us having a game spare. So we are in this playoff fight, as I say, and second place does look out of reach. We are hoping for Wrexham and Wycombe to basically do a miracle and drop points, and County have to make the most of that. But let's face it, in all likelihood, it's probably gone. So we do have to focus now on the playoffs. And as I say, that does mean looking behind us, because there are teams behind us, like I say, with games spare. And that puts us in a difficult position if County aren't, not getting points on the board. Burton, though, of course, 21st in the table with 3 wins from the last 6, as I mentioned. The Brewers have been managed by former Blackburn, Blackpool and Salford manager Gary Bowyer since mid-December, stepping in when the club were positioned 23rd in the league. He's given them a fighting chance of staying up, as they are 6 points off 20th place Bristol Rovers with a game in hand. He's responsible for 6 of their 8 league wins this season, picking up 24 of their 36 points this campaign. I mean, you could argue that if he'd gone in sooner, maybe they'd be slightly higher up the table. As I say, fighting chance of staying up. However, if you look at the set of fixtures they've got to play in the remaining 8 fixtures, or 9 fixtures I suppose, it's about as tough as you get. If you think about it, they've got to face County obviously away this weekend, Leyton Orient at home, as well after that, Wrexham away, Huddersfield at home, Exeter away, Birmingham at home, Cambridge at home, Wigan at home, and then they've got to face Charlton away, and Charlton could be fighting for anything in those in that last game of the season. So a very, very set, basically the hardest, toughest set of fixtures you could ask for in the position at which Burton find themselves in. It's also worth pointing out as well that Burton, from what I've seen, Burton have played some form of either 3 or 5 at the back since Bowyer's arrival in December, so maybe Chelna may well look to match up as he has done against teams recently. Burton have of course struggled this season with just 38 league goals scored. That's just 5 more than the lowest scorers Wigan at Athletic. They've conceded 53 goals. They actually rank as one of the lowest on average for possession in the league this season. Only Cambridge, Northampton and Shrewsbury have a lower average possession percentage in the league this season. So I suppose they're in the right company. A lot of those teams are near them in the sort of relegation spots. They have the second lowest expected goals as well. They've had the fewest touches in the opposition box all season. They rank second lowest for possession, one in the final third. I think this is very telling, isn't it? I think we're coming up against a team which they don't have much of the ball. They don't do a lot with it when they do have the ball, and they certainly won't look to break out their own half to win the ball when they don't have it as well. So I would expect them to sit in a low block, hold out for a draw. I think an early goal for Stockport County would really open the floodgates at Edgeley Park, because I just think they're not going to risk too much, especially away from home against a team like County, who obviously done very well this season. I think we will see him part of the bus, and it's how County go about dealing with that. Obviously, Wrexham did a similar thing, but once they were on a 1-0 lead last weekend, and when teams do sit back, it's very difficult, and we haven't been able to break teams down when they do that much this season. So that is a concern. When teams sit back, do we have the creative plays? Do we have that spark to unlock that defence and go on to win the game? We did it against Wigan, but that was quite a while now. It feels like a month or so ago. But certainly in recent times, when teams have made it difficult for us, we haven't really responded. I think of Charlton as well recently. Bolton, we just about managed to, with a bit of individual talent from Tanto Alafi. But as I say, we did struggle last week against Wrexham, and I think it could be a similar story against Burton if we don't get that goal early on. Of course, as well, we all know Jack Stretton from his time at Stockport County, of course, scoring that memorable goal versus Salford in the League Two playoffs 2 years ago. mean, yeah, of course, an incredible moment for Stockport County. Of course, that did take them to penalties against Salford. Of course, then off to Wembley for the playoff final. It didn't go our way on that day, but it's still a great moment for Jack Stretton, and I'm sure we'll all appreciate him for that. Look, if he does come on off the bench on Saturday, I'd like to think we'd give him a bit of a round of applause. But obviously, if he scores, that'll very quickly go away. And there is a feeling that he'll score against us just because he is an ex-county player. It does feel a little bit like his first game up against us, potentially. He might well just get a goal, but I'm not even sure if he'll necessarily play because I don't think he's had loads of minutes for Burton since he signed last month. So we spoke a bit about Burton there, but obviously we're going to talk about Stockport County now. And obviously they need to get a win. They need to win this game to keep up in the playoff race. They've obviously been in patchy form in recent weeks. Since losing to Cambridge at the end of February, they've picked up 2 wins, 2 draws and 1 defeat. They've scored 6 while conceding 3, but goals have felt in short supply of late. I think we've struggled to find a sort of individual who we can sort of pin on to score the goals. Anderson looks like he could grow into that kind of a player, but he's still a young player. He's still developing. Obviously got a couple of goals as well for Iceland, under 21s in the last week or so, but he's not quite that player yet. I think he could be that, but like I say, we've still got to take a little bit of time and patience with him. Obviously Tanto Alafi as well. I think he could end up being that kind of a player, but I don't think first of all, he's obviously had a difficult season because he missed pre-season. He's kind of didn't get a lot of... It didn't feel like he started a lot of games in the first half of the season. I could be wrong, but it didn't feel like he got a lot of opportunities to start. I also don't think we've played enough to his strengths this season as well. So I think there's reasons as to why Tanto Alafi hasn't been what I think he could have been this season for us. Then, of course, there's Cosgrove, who came in January on loan from Barnsley. He's not really played too much. And then obviously it leaves you with Carl Wootton. He's not a natural goal scorer. Since scoring his goal against Leyton Orient, he hadn't scored since Bolton in November. So that makes it just 1 goal in his last 23 matches. And look, while many will obviously argue that he brings others into the game, he's also not had any direct goal involvements in each of his last 9 matches. On the eye test, as well, it looks like he's struggling at the moment. He looks like a player which is perhaps, tired. He's obviously played a lot of minutes this season as well. In fact, only Ethan Pye has played more minutes in the league than Woodson for County this season. He's racked up 2,935 minutes. So that could also be a reason as to why he's struggling. Obviously, the fact he hasn't been particularly prolific in front of goal in that time as well might mean it's also a confidence issue, which I think would be understandable. But if you look at Tanto Alafi and you look at he's played roughly 1,200 minutes less than what in so far this season. He's only scored 1 less than him. I think he scored 6 goals in the league this season. Okay, just 2 assists, but you can see the difference straight away when you play Tanto Alafi alongside Benoni Brecky Anderson. Those two seem to link up really well. I've heard other people say that as well. And I think it's because you've got 2 players which are a little bit quicker with one another. It's easier to build that understanding. Anderson looks like a bit more of a complete forward. He does look a little bit quicker. He's quite tall as well, but he's fairly quick for someone of his size. So I think it's a slightly different thing that he sort of offers, compared to a Carl Wootton, let's say. I think Carl Wootton probably sort of thrived a lot more in the team when we had a player like Lou Barry, who you could look to play in. I think we're a slightly different team now, and I think that, in that time, I think Wootton has struggled. Like I say, I think maybe he's played too much. Maybe could have been sort of done with dropping in and out at times, and maybe resting him and then getting the best out of him when he's a bit more refreshed and recharged. But I think, like I say, I think there's reasons as to why he struggled this season to score goals. I think maybe where we got it wrong as well this season, I think one, certainly not signing a striker, whether that be in the summer or in January we didn't sign a striker. I think most people would agree that probably needed to happen. It didn't happen. I think second of all, I think it's probably overusing the same players, running them into the ground. And third of all, I'd say probably not trusting the squad, which has been constructed in both windows. I mean, if you look at it, some of the players we've brought in, we've not really made the most of those plays. Even, let's say, Jaden Fevrier, he's not played as much as you would like to have seen him play. I know he's had injury problems, but even when he's come back, we haven't looked to bring him in much. He's had a couple of minutes off the bench of late, and he's looked fairly promising, but he hasn't had much of a go this season. Same with, sort of similar story with Jack Diamond. He's sort of come in, not really got the best out of him. Cosgrove's come in, okay, loan signing, maybe an emergency signing, but he's not really had many minutes as well. You wonder why he was brought in. I thought the logic was maybe to give Wootton a rest at times and bring him in, but he's not even done that. In fact, wasn't even on the bench against Wrexham, so I'm not really sure what the what the thinking is with the recruitment this season. There's a lot of players that have come in that we haven't really made the most of. Luis Fiorini as well, then went out on loan in January. We brought in Hamilton as well in January. Where's he been? So there's players that have come in both in the summer and in January that we just haven't really seen the most of. And I think that's something where I think you would have to question the recruitment department. We're just going to sort of go into the team news now as well. A little bit of information of obviously Brad Hills will serve his suspension after receiving a second yellow late on against Wrexham last weekend. The controversial decision, some might say. Second yellow, I didn't really know what he did wrong. I didn't really think he even touched the player, to be honest. So disagreed with that. But look, there are decisions I think we all disagreed with on last weekend. I think I did fairly well actually to not get him involved in too many debates on social media afterwards. I think some people got it a lot worse than me. So Brad Hills obviously will miss the game. Huge disappointment. I think he's been a really, really strong player. I mean, we're just talking about players that haven't worked out in terms of recruitment this season. He's been one that's coming in January and he's looked almost like he's part of that, he's a permanent sort of fixture in the team. It's going to be unfortunate to see him go back to Norwich in the summer, I think many will say. So, disappointing that he won't be in this game. And it's almost a disappointment that we can't have him beyond this season as well, because he's been incredible since he's come in, and I'm sure he'll be a miss on Saturday as well. Fraser Horsfall, though, was back in the matchday squad for the first time after coming off injured against Rotherham just before the new year. He came back in, obviously, on the bench against Wrexham. Could he be back in potentially in the starting 11 against Burton on Saturday? Be interesting to see what happens with that, of course. Callum Camp's picked up an injury and was forced off versus Wrexham. He could be out for a while. It looked like a bit of a nasty one. I'm not too sure what the injury is and how long we expected that will be, but I certainly wouldn't expect him to be involved in the game this weekend. Nick Powell is back available and has been training since last week with Fraser Horsfall. I think they both came back at the same time. Nick Powell, there's a player that I would like to see. I think we're talking about a player lacking a player with creative edge. I think Nick Powell offers you that. I'd like to see Nick Powell in the team on Saturday, whether that be on the bench or in the starting 11. I think that could be a very useful player to have in the squad this weekend. Before we sort of go into the predicted 11 and then my 11 as well, we're just going to say that there's a couple of questions that I'd love to sort of have Challoner be asked, and that is, I think we all kind of want an update on Jay Mingy, what's happening there, because I think there was an issue with him, a serious injury. He was doing a bit of a program of his own to try and come back from an injury. I'd love to see what the situation is with that, get a bit of an update on that, of course, and also to ask him about Hamilton and Cosgrove, two players which were brought in January that I haven't really seen many minutes, particularly Hamilton as well, because that was seen as a bit more of a player that might have got more game time than a Cosgrove, and neither of them have really had a look in. So I'd be interested to see what the reasons are behind that after both coming in January and not really receiving much game time since they've come in. Okay, we're going to go into Dave Challoner's, my predicted 11 for Dave Challoner's side against Burton on Saturday. Now, look, we spoke about it before. Burton predominantly played with a 3 or 5 at the back since Gary Bowyer's come in. Do I think we'll go back to that? I do, to be honest. I think we've looked to match the opposition in recent weeks, and I think that Dave Challoner will be no different against Burton Albion on Saturday. I think we will see a 3 at the back. I think it'll be a 3 at the back of Connolly, Horsfall and Ethan Pye. Noyle and Ibi Toure is the two sort of wing backs in that formation. Norwood and Lewis Bate is the two central midfielders. I think he'll persist with Will Collar behind the two strikers as well, although I do think he is in need of a rest. And then I think he'll go with Cal Wootton and Tanto Alafi as those two strikers up front. Here we go then. This is the team I would like to see us go with. Obviously a different formation, a 4-2-3-1, as I'm going with most weeks. I'd like to see a flat back for Noyle, Horsfall, Ethan Pye and Ryan Rydell to come in for me. A 2-man midfield of Norwood and Bate with Nick Powell slightly further in front, just behind the striker as well. Jaden Fevrier to the right, Tanto Alafi to the left. And then, of course, it is Benoni, Brecky, Anderson to start down the middle. But the question is, will he be ready? I absolutely hope so. I mean, look, he did start the game against Bolton and he didn't score and he was taken off at half-time. I heard some people say that that's why he shouldn't be starting. What, because he started one game and he didn't score in 45 minutes? I think that's a bit of a stupid argument, in my opinion, to judge him based on 45 minutes. There's loads of strikers that will start one game in 45 minutes and not score. It's not a reason to not start him in again in another game. He's done well at Iceland, and that might be the reason why he might not start, to be fair, because he has played in 2 internationals, I believe, during the international break. But I do expect him to at least be on the bench. I think he's going to be the player which can have the impact more than anyone else in this team at this point in time. And hopefully we get to see him from the get-go. So that's been my thoughts on the starting 11. I've gone with what I think David Challoner will pick, and I've also gone with and showing you what the team I would like to see picked. So I'd love to get your thoughts in the comment section below on who you would like to see picked. What do you think of my starting 11? What do you think of the predicted 11 I've gone for with Dave Challoner's side against Burton on Saturday? I want to get your thoughts on that. Like I say, who do you think will be an important player? Who would you like to see come in against Burton on Saturday? Score predictions as well. I mean, look, I think this could be a really difficult game. Burton are fighting for points. They will sit deep. I think they will make it or try to make it difficult for us. But I think an early goal would crush their hopes. And as I say, it could open the floodgates. It's a really difficult one to judge in terms of score prediction because I could sort of go on the side of caution and say a 1-0 because I think they could sit back and make it very difficult for us. But if we do get that early goal, as I say, I think Burton's plan will be out the window. I think we will. I think we'll score though. I think we'll score early on. I think we've got to get a goal in the first half, within the first 15 minutes of the first half, and then I think we could go on and win the game quite comfortably. So I'm actually going to go with an optimistic, perhaps 4-0 County win. I want to get your score predictions in the comment section below, of course, as well as always. Like I say, get your thoughts on Stockport County. How do you think the season's going to finish as well with 8 games remaining? We are, of course, going to be bringing you the match day vlog as well on Saturday afternoon or evening, depending on when it goes out. As always, very much looking forward to it. So do get your thoughts in. Don't forget to like the video, of course. Do subscribe if you are new. And as always, thanks for watching.